Let's go live. What do you say? Just do it? Okay. Let's do that. Let's just go live and then get set up. Let's go live and then realize I did not repost on my Twitter. No, I think I did. Yeah, I did. Okay. Got to set a reminder. Hi, Danny. Kind of get set up here. Hello, everyone. Danny says. Get my volume set up. I don't bring you guys in so you can watch me get set up. I'm just ready to go. How do I put it? I'm just ready to get. I can have this set up while I wait for this, the live stream. Okay, everybody had a good day, I hope. I had a good day. It was a boring day. I'm just doing, I'm writing a book. It takes forever. But I finished a big part of it. So that was cool. Good evening, good evening. I already put the link to the Twitter space in the chat.
Oh, dang. I just did it twice.
That's okay. Maybe we'll have twice as many people today.
Yeah, I might delete it. I think it's better they go to YouTube into the YouTube anyways.
Okay.
Seems like people willing to chat into the YouTube, then come up and speak with us. So might as well send them in that direction.
Sure. Yeah, I don't mind. How you been doing?
Good. Busy day at work. Same old.
Okay. Yeah, it was a busy day here behind my desk. Finished a big project though, like a big section of the project that I'm working on. I reached a milestone, so now I get to go do other work to reach the goal of the whole project being done, if you follow me. But at least I got like the big initial part mostly done. We got a lot of smoothing to do, but I think it'll be worth it.
Do you think the smoothing out part is harder, or the getting started in the bigger portions?
The getting started and the bigger portions was I'm sure going to be the biggest. I think what's going to happen is I'm going to spend about for every 10 hours that I spent, writing, I'm going to spend about 2 hours editing. That's what I'm estimating. We'll see.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm kind of tracking it, as you can imagine, because it is a big part of my time. So, but yeah, it's all for the grays. By the way, guys, what we're talking about, it's not what we had for breakfast.
I think today is the 2-year anniversary of PulseChain.
I think you're right, because I remember seeing some posts about that on Twitter. 2 years. Yeah. Wow. Who ever thought it would take this long? I'm not complaining. I'm just saying, wow. Hey, man, well, thank God there's 2 years behind us, because what that means to me is that we're just that much closer to the bull run. If we'd known 2 years ago that it was going to be 2-year wait, guess what? Everybody would have vaporized. They would have left. You know what I mean? Wow.
Yeah, I definitely agree there, right? If 4 years ago you said PulseChain was going to be here right now when people were sacrificing, I don't think a lot of people would have sacrificed, obviously.
Yeah. Yep.
Not even price-wise, but just timing-wise, too. Even if the price was a little better. I just think 4 years is a lot for a lot of people, but, delayed gratification is a real thing. Good things take time. Usually if something's hard, it's usually worth it. If something's easy, usually not that worth it. So
yeah,
let's hope that the treat at the end is worth it.
Yes. Well, I think it will be. I anticipate it being well worth our while. As a matter of fact, I think I just have a hunch that this bull run is going to be explosive. I mean, hopefully it's going to be like explosive and drawn out. But that's what I'm hoping. For all the waiting that we've done, it'll be good either way. But I wouldn't be surprised if it was like extra good this time.
Yeah, personally, like I'm on the side to where I think the bull run is still to come. But a few weeks ago, some people were saying the bull run was over, right? And it was funny because my buddy I was talking to who was saying like, oh, a lot of people think it's over, and I said, well, the good news is if it is over, we're already halfway done with the bear market. Because usually the downtrend is a year, and we're already 6 months of downtrend on ETH pretty much. So.
Huh. Okay. I heard the spaces went really well last Saturday. I haven't listened to all of it yet.
It was a good space. There were some new people coming in, so it definitely livened up the conversation. It's nice having new people who have heard about pTGC come in and ask questions and want to learn. And it's funny because I'll find myself like educating on pTGC and UFO, and this was someone who's a very like well-versed crypto person, right? Like he has a decent following. He's in decent projects. He knows what he's talking about. And it's crazy because what we're doing over here with pTGC is just stuff that on other blockchains is like a foreign language to them. One of the big ones was I was talking about the liquidity web. And then, I was like kind of describing it. But then later on, we were talking about how we have like, at that day, I think it was like 18 mil in liquidity or something like that. And he's just like, I don't see 18 mil. I'm looking at pTGC and I'm looking at a UFO and I only see 1.5 mil in each of them.
Okay.
And then we had to bring up like, oh, well, on PulseChain, we actually aren't only tying to one asset like you see on every other chain. We're actually creating these web of tokens and pairing with 10 other projects, right? And when I was talking to him about the liquidity web, I have to almost rewind, and it's a good note for all of us. It's like when we're educating these people that have been in crypto for 5 years, 6 years, the things that we're actually doing over here is unheard of.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that on other chains they bond with basically just one other token.
Pretty much just the gas token or a stable coin. That's it.
Okay.
So when they're looking at our liquidity, they're actually just really looking at that first pair, and they're not studying that, we're paired with Pulse, and we're PulseX. We're also paired with Tex. So it was definitely like a little bit of a reminder to me that we sometimes need to slow down for even very, very seasoned veterans, because what we're doing is just so new. And It sounds like a walk in the park to us because we've been living it for the last 2 years now, right? But for people on other chains, it's kind of unheard of this web style system.
Yeah. I had no idea. I don't follow a lot of what's going on other chains, so I didn't know that most tokens are just bonded with the gas token or a stable coin. So that really helps set us apart and PulseChain apart too, for that matter.
Yeah, definitely. the amount, like the advantages that our system has if PulseChain is remotely successful, and like when we start knocking on the door of these bigger alt tokens, let's say on the door that it have to these other blockchains is just like mind blowing when you really start to think about it. The fact that we have all these mechanics written within our code that really makes it an amazing environment. I think. I think people think this too.
Sure.
Built-in APY, deflationary tokenomics, the ability to pivot, the value generation off of market movements, and then being connected to all these assets that have yet to do any X's. Like literally, they've done negative X's. It's like, in a way, I feel like it's going to be cheating by how fast our market cap and our X's can start rolling in with this blockchain being remotely successful. And then once we even get those X's, the fact that we have these built-in APYs, the buy and burn functions automated, the ability to pivot and adjust with everything thrown really at us. On top of that, just whatever's coming with PulseChain, the X's that are coming there, we can just start rising up the ranks very, very quickly. And I think not even just rising up the ranks, what I think is more important is the sustainability after we go up those ranks, right? I do think that we have a lot more features within our protocol that make it better to sustain the X's after we make it. Like one of them is just the amount of liquidity that we have compared to the market cap. The fact that we've done a lot of our X's already against the blockchain and can still do a bunch more, but the X's that come from the blockchain going up is actually a lot more sustainable than is against the blockchain, because your liquidity rises in a larger amount than if you're doing X against the blockchain, if that makes sense. Like, let's say you did a 10X and you had $1 million of liquidity, and let's say the blockchain does a 10X, right? You would have $10 million in liquidity. But if you did a 10X against the blockchain, this is a lot of other blockchains that aren't going to do that many X's this cycle, not because they're worse products, just because they've already done hundreds or thousands of X's, right? Just they're more known. So they need to get most of their X's from their own asset running. And when your own asset runs against the blockchain to get your X's, your liquidity actually becomes smaller compared to your market cap. It doesn't increase evenly like it does when you get X's from the blockchain you're built on.
Okay, so let me kind of summarize what you're saying and put it in my terms. So we don't want to do a number of X's against PulseChain. Like we
want to. We want to do as many X's as we can. Where I'm getting at is, if someone was to say, Banana, you can have a 10X against the blockchain, or Banana, you can have a 10X with the blockchain. For sustainability purposes, it makes more sense, in my opinion, to get it from the blockchain, because your liquidity is going to rise up evenly with your market cap.
Okay.
But if you did it against the blockchain, your liquidity and market cap start to spread against each other. Your market cap will increase faster. Obviously, we're going for both, right? We're going for X's against the blockchain and X's with the blockchain. Currently, what's been happening is the blockchain's been moving down and we've been moving up, which creates the ultimate spread, which, when you think about it, we've been actually adding to our liquidity when that spreading's happening, keeping the liquidity ratio good. But when everything starts working in the right direction with us, or if everything starts working in the right direction with us, it's going to increase more evenly.
Okay. All right. So it sounds like we're crushing it in the right direction. That's good. I have noticed quite a few new people in the chat, in the Telegram chat recently. And so that's encouraging. Like people asking questions, and like on my stream yesterday, there's always new people, but it's like there were a few more yesterday. I noticed. I think that's just a result of, the green candles, and people they're getting their bags of the Gray's currencies, and then they're coming over to the spaces and the stream to, learn about what they hold, what they hold now.
Great time. Like complete clarity against the FTC, prices at pretty much max discount. Like, yeah, you could have scooped a little bit cheaper, but like 1 month out of the last 2 years, overall the price is extremely discounted in comparison to what a lot of people paid for. And earlier, the waiting period is less and less, right?
Yes. And, I can't say that we are literally at the bottom of the Gray's currencies because we're really not. However, with the layer one, let's call it recovering from struggling, we figuratively are at the bottom of the Gray's currencies. Because when that layer one starts moving, as we've seen just in the last week, the Gray's currencies are going to move even more.
If mechanically pTGC, well, it will always function as it has since it's renounced code, but judging on the last 2 times PulseChain has moved off of the lows and increased in price, we've continued to make higher highs. So if we're in that right now, and you study the past of pTGC, and if PLS starts doing green candles from today on and doesn't ever go lower than it is here, most likely we are in a range of the lowest price you will ever get in pTGC again. Most likely.
Sure.
The only reason I'm saying that, obviously someone could dump a crazy amount of pTGC at any time. We've been able to study the protocol for a year and a half. It doesn't look like anyone's doing so. And every time in the past, which is pTGC and PLS have hit their lows, the next time PLS has moved up off of the lows, pTGC has never went even near those lows again. Even near. It's like landed like 10x higher. So if we just act in that similar fashion, it will most likely do that same thing again. So what that tells me is this whole range, which I think we're already up 2x from our lows, but if PulseChain starts to move up from here, this most likely is the cheapest price or this range could be the cheapest price it ever be.
I think what's important to mention is that performance isn't just based on speculation or traders. It's because the way that token economics work for pTGC. The whole time that's going on, you guys are adding to the LPs, you guys are burning tokens out of total supply, and you guys are reflecting rewards to proven strong hands, which just prints higher lows versus the network itself, which is PulseChain. And that's why pTGC continues to outperform Pulse and PulseX and Hex and INC. Just the token behind the scenes is making the token more scarce for holders, and the diamond hand holders aren't selling the rewards, which makes it even more scarce for new market participants.
Yeah, and even the ones who do sell the rewards, right, they're still holding a large portion of the supply off the market to not be purchased.
And also, with that being said, is no matter if 100 go out, it's still a net positive, even if all 100 rewards are sold, because they got to pay a 5% sell tax, which keeps momentum, burns tokens, adds to LP. The list goes on and on. So no matter what, the rewards, the reflection rewards are always a net positive, because even if everyone is sold, 5% still goes back into the project and into the mechanisms of the project.
Well, a little bit more than that, because even if all the rewards are sold, the rewards can't even land to you unless someone's buying those rewards or previously bought those rewards and was exiting anyways. But then more importantly, every time a reward is paid out, it's actually backed by value going into either buy and burn LP ads or the DAO, which is majority to buy and burns and LPs also. So even if every reward is sold constantly, that reward will never be paid to a user without more funds getting paid to the buying liquidity events. Yeah, someone, I think it was Coondog, posted the crypto bubbles, and I stole the picture and reposted it today. So, and I think it was a year of crypto bubbles, and it was like, all the top, I don't know 200 tokens or something like that exist. And out of all the tokens, pTGC was the biggest green circle on crypto.
And what was it, like 987%, not including APR or something like that?
Yeah. Pretty much the rest of it yearly is down. A few green circles in general. And kind of like you were saying, Nick, that was my post, is like, if you know why pTGC is green, you know why it's going to be a top ranked token in all of crypto here soon. It's just a big math equation happening constantly. And when you realize that, it's actually really easy to understand why it is green. It's not green because the blockchain is going up, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think it was top 200 or top 250, while PulseChain was like half a sacrifice price. And, really, we're just now starting to see new capital coming in the market. They're starting to dip their toes in. So if pTGC got the top 200, top 50 with PulseChain, not even a sacrifice price, and really with a limited scope of crypto OGs in the market, what happens now that they're dipping their toes in? And when Pulse does a 10x, 20x, everybody now is saying pTGC top 50, but I think it can go way beyond that. Kind of like we saw with Hex. We'll see what happens. And this time it doesn't look like pTGC is going to be gate kept. You guys are properly listed and properly tracked on CoinGecko. So that'll be exciting times shortly, in my opinion, leading through the end of this year and beyond.
Yeah, hopefully they don't realize we're built on PulseChain.
I think we're starting to see a little more, I think we're going to continue to see a little more embracing. Now that there is the clarity, you see pTGC on CoinGecko, you saw Bear get listed there, Teddy, like some projects, PulseChain projects are getting, accepted by CoinGecko, and that's good to see. And maybe the narrative around PulseChain and Hex and Richard Hart will turn on his head here. And, Interpol needs to get cleared up. Richard Hart gets live interviews, and that opinion of the chain will really spur the massive momentum we all think is coming.
Yeah, the nice thing about with PulseChain, Richard talks about this, is a lot of the people who didn't get bags of Hex and were kind of salty about that made sure they got bags of PulseChain. Maybe they're still quiet about it because it hasn't increased in their portfolio yet.
I think that is a very good descriptor. I'm kind of one of those. I wasn't salty about Hex. I was making gains on BSC or whatever, but I kind of missed the Hex narrative, kind of falling into the crowd and the big loud voices talking about Richard Hart and Hex. Didn't have time to do research myself, doing other stuff. And once I dug in, I was a day one sacrifice of the PulseChain, got my community in. And I think there's a lot of big players in the space who also hold the PulseChain. They're just not vocal about it yet because it is so far down. And I think that megaphone continues to go. We continue to see green candles, especially when we get beyond sacrifice, because then they can brag about how they're up, et cetera, et cetera. Like Ivan on Tech and some of these other guys, I know they're sacrificers, and they talk about PulseChain, but they're not super vocal on their own positions just yet. They need more green candles so they can start bragging.
Yeah, and Richard Hart just came and recorded that video. It was last Tuesday that he dropped that video. And it seems like we're having some kind of big news, some kind of, not upset, like a positive upset every week for the past several months. So I'm expecting something to happen this week. I don't know what, but I'm ready for it because I think it's going to be positive, whatever it is.
This isn't really Richard, but I've seen the Highest of Stakes account, the movie or the documentary about Richard. They've been kind of teasing a little bit that they have like a bunch of unseen footage that after they get a certain amount of traction to their their Twitter account. We're going to start the unseen footage. So I think,
yeah, we were bringing that up last spaces, maybe last week, that we were talking about high stakes, hinting at a global launch of the movie and stuff. That'll be interesting. All eyes on PulseChain would be a good thing. And I'm still daily fielding people. All right, how do I bridge over? And they're not coming in with huge money yet, but you got to expect people to dip their toes in, and go from PLS and blue chips to get to pTGC and go to other assets. But they dip their toes in, they see green candles, and that's when they FOMO and continue to bridge more assets over to PulseChain. And that's where you really hit critical mass with the expansion of networks, like we've seen in the past with BSC or Polygon or Arbitrum or whatever. And then it's really up to the community and art and the nation. I'm sure will be around PulseChain to keep some momentum going and to be not just a one-cycle wonder and be a multi-cycle network like we see with Ethereum, Solana, and BSC.
Yeah, and a nice little alt season on these other chains would probably help some of that money flowing over here too, right? Like a lot of people who have ETH that they either bought around these levels a little higher or a little lower. If that value gets put into a little bit of profits, usually people are more willing to venture off with those profits into more riskier assets. Even though it doesn't make much more good for them because they're probably going to get a worse price on the PulseChain assets, but mentally on people feels better to move something that you're up on, even if what you're getting with that value is up. You could be up 2x and you could feel better about buying something up 5x just because you're moving money once it's green instead of in the red. But
yeah, that's right. We to rotate out at a loss because people have a hard time quantifying if they're performing with the other asset over that same time period. Like you said, so they like to see break even or profit, then they back, and then they'll rotate over, even if they're still behind what they could have been on pTGC in this example. That time's hopefully coming. We're starting to see green candles on ETH, and we get back 3,000 and beyond, and I think a lot of people are buying that first dip that ETH had, not expecting it to go down to 1,600. And we're seeing a lot of altcoins on these chains start to run too, like Floki's up 150%. You're seeing Pengu up like 250, 300% off the lows. So I think a lot of people are getting good on their positions and willing to scrape off that froth, as I like to call it, and put it in the next plays and the next risks, which hopefully is PulseChain.
Hi, everybody. How are you doing?
Doing good, Stylis.
All
good
right.
to hear you, not see you.
So, Coach, I know that if I'm not mistaken, I think you're going to the Bitcoin conference, aren't you? And I'm just wondering what it is that you're setting up and what you're doing there. And I think it's great that you're going, if that's true.
Yeah, so I'm going in 2 weeks to the Bitcoin conference, and instead of just going and just being there, I went out and got press passes. So basically, I'll be able to talk, take videos of the whole event, get access to like the backstage, and kind of like talk to a lot of individuals, Bitcoiners, Ethereum guys. So I'm gonna try to be like networking the whole time.
That's great.
So
I think Axis was thinking about going, and there were some other community members. I'll DM you, Coach, too, because I think they wanted to stay private about going. But there's a couple of people that are going pretty big in our ecosystem. I think it could be good just to kind of all, join forces with people that actually really like you and me. So I'll reach out to you on the side about that, okay? But I think it's great that you're going. I'm actually thinking about going, but it's just so far. So I'm still deciding whether or not to go.
should be a good event.
Yeah, I think we're really good. And then after is the XRP event too. So there's the XRP right after the Bitcoin in Vegas. I would love to go to both, but just to start, because I think it's really great what Ian and B-Roots did, where they just kind of, was it the STUI event in Dubai, where they just, recruited people over to pTGC to comment in the spaces on Saturday. That was really exciting. That was a big win for us. And I want more things like that to happen. And it's up to us to go out there and get it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
that's the right attitude. It all depends on us, right? Yeah. It's not your responsibility to pull my bags. It's mine. right.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. So, I mean, this spaces, I think it's really good. You guys are so consistent about, showing up, and especially, Zen, you always show up for the community, and at the same time, and I think that kind of discipline is super important. And, Coach, you stream every day. You're just a huge ambassador for, the PTGC. It's a brand now, and I think that we just have to keep going. And I think that, the Bitcoin conference, and these are where the big crypto players are. And yes, there are a lot of maxis, but, anybody is going to be interested in a really, really great project with tokenomics and a great community, and who's had has this chart. So it's not a hard sell. I'm even able to get normies now to look into PTGC, which is like the first time since the bear market that I've been able to get normies to actually look at it.
So how do you talk to a normie about PTGC? What does Silas go about?
I say that I put in X amount of money, and I show them my wallet, and I'm like, and this is what it's worth now. And I'm like, and we're still in a bear market. I'm like, so, and then I show them the chart, and just, that this is a good entry point because it went super high, and then, we had a correction. So, yeah. And it's really about how much money do you think that I feel that foolish I am, and then I convey that. And especially now that the SEC is pretty much over, and that drama's behind us, because before I think that was a little bit of a deterrent, because if anyone were to look into Richard Hart and PulseChain and the SEC case come up, that would be definitely for the people I know that they wouldn't have come in. But now that that's behind us, it's a lot easier for me to really actively go out there and tell people. It's like, listen, you can put some in Bitcoin. Put some in Bitcoin, you could put some in Ethereum, and some in the blue chips, right? And I said, put 10% of your your allocation, or 20% into PTGC, to make them feel like that's your high risk. Because these are people I'm talking to who think that don't even understand crypto at all. So just to get them to dip their toes in it, once they start to see the chart and they see the price action, they'll probably start to reallocate. Because that's what I did. So. I mean, normies are even contacting me now and saying, wow, you must be really excited because crypto is going up. It's in the mainstream news. It's all over. JD Vance is going to attend the Bitcoin conference. Our freaking vice president who's in office is going to be at the Bitcoin conference. That is so bullish.
Imagine me getting an interview with him. Talking about PTGC.
I hope you do. I really hope you do.
Highly doubt it, but...
Coach, you can do it.
You may as well try. Why not?
No, I will.
I believe in you, Coach. You can do it.
I will say at the conference 2024 in Nashville, Trump wasn't really around that much. Press Pass got to go and listen to him speak. But like RFK Jr. and Michael Saylor and some of those guys, they were around and about. RFK Jr. we saw at the Karate Combat fight. So somebody on the fringe, maybe JD Vance, he's kind of was on the same level as RFK Jr. Maybe you will see them out and about on some of the side events and be able to grab a quick couple minutes with them.
There are going to be so many people that think that they can't get an audience with JD Vance. But, Coach, you could be that one person that gives it a try and actually has a conversation with them. That would be really cool.
Yeah, I'll just tell them that PTGC Bitcoin, and we'll start from there.
You always want to start with build rapport now. Build rapport.
I'm joking, guys. I won't say that.
That's hilarious. Coach, you should have a t-shirt that says that and go into the conference.
Well, I'll just be repping PGC gear the whole conference. So PGC and then also PulseChain.
Great. That's so great. I'm so happy you're going.
Yeah.
Stylus. this. Do you think that the prices being low on PulseChain right now is easier for the onboarding, just due to it being a lot easier to get X's off of these lows in pTGC, or did you think the little bit bullish chart made it a little bit easier for?
Well, I think the bullish chart finally showed some life and some momentum, and it shows that it's not dead. And I think, given the context that the case was, pretty much dismissed. There's 50 days left that it could whatever, but that's very, very, very low chance of that happening. So it's pretty much dismissed. And just given that context, so we've been through the bear market. The case is finally dismissed. Chart is showing life. You want to get in now before it gets away from you. So I think the timing, it makes the story make sense. So I think it's okay, but they're going to be the super conservative people who won't touch it still. And then those people, it's easier for me to onboard onto pTGC than it is into Pulse for this moment. But I think it's a huge missed opportunity not to invest in Pulse, but can't force people.
Hmm.
And pTGC is listed on CoinGecko. It's just listed. It just seems more legit to a normie.
Every normie likes aliens too.
Exactly. The memeability of it. So I just feel like you got it. If any way I can get them onto PulseChain, that's what I'm going to do. Whatever it takes to get them onto PulseChain, and then I'll show the projects I believe in, which is obviously all the RH. PLS, PLSX, Inc, Hex, and then pTGC. Those are my main, that's my main holdings. So, and that's what I believe in the most. So, I think the timing is good to onboard people, to answer your question. And I think that for anyone with any sense about investing and understands the stock market, and they look at the chart, look at the contracts, I think it makes sense.
Yeah, I think once PulseChain's chart in general, maybe I guess you could lump them all together, right? PulseX, PulseChain, Hex. Once those charts start showing some serious life, I think some serious floodgates are going to open up with the clarity, with the fact that, especially if Richard doesn't even need to tap a lot of his funds, but if the funds he has in that wallet start appreciating, and then with the PulseChain chart increasing, let's say closer to stack rate, I think that's going to open up some serious floodgates.
I agree. Yeah. Closer to stack rate is going to be easier, but you can get the people who are maybe have a little bit more, who are a little bit more degenerate, let's just say, who understand the opportunity, because when you see that momentum, that's when you want to get in. Because I was in a spaces last night with Rackham Rochelle, and he was saying that, because he's a whale and he swims with whales, and he's like, if you knew the moves that were happening from really, really big players right now, to come onto PulseChain, he's like, you would 100% not be cheating your bags. And he just can't understand why anyone would sell right now. So that's really bullish. It doesn't take a lot to move it at this point. Mm-hmm. We're small.
It takes like nothing. It takes such a small amount. We were talking about that last spaces. I think it's $10 million moves PulseChain up like 12x or something like that, which then pretty much moves everything up on chain 12x.
Yeah, no, that's absolute insanity. And Coach, yesterday was it that you were streaming, or the day before you were doing moon math? And it's not even, I like what you said, it's not even moon math. It's just, this is mathematically what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. It happens to be kind of moony, but that's just because the nature of how this is built. But it's amazing. I think we need to do more of that in our spaces, more moon math, because it just gives people, a view as to what can happen. And I think once people understand that, then they'll invest. If they're not invested already, or if they're invested, they'll even invest more, or they'll onboard more people.
Yeah, the X multiplier is as real as it comes, and now that PulseChain is super, super low, it just makes the multiplier that much larger. And one of the biggest parts is either, like, for an example, pTGC has done a bunch of X's, but since PulseChain hasn't done any X's in the last year, we've been missing a part of the X multiplier. And if anyone's been happy with their gains so far on pTGC, you have to remember a key piece of the formula hasn't been even put in yet. one of the main things, the thing that actually multiplies your X's, PTG or PLS going up. So if we just keep doing what we've doing, let's say we do another 10x from here, which I think with PTGC takes under $10 million. I think it was like 8 or something like that from this level.
8.
Which 8? Yeah, okay, 8. Which is not much at all, right? In crypto, like literally, you can meet a group of guys who can bring over $8 million just between a group of a few guys or a handful of guys. But a 10x there, let's say PulseChain does just an easy 10x, right? The 10x from here on PulseChain is just the all-time highs. So if we just go to all-time highs, we got a 10x on PulseChain. If we keep onboarding the PTGC as a small, tight-knit community, that's 100x to everyone's portfolios from this level right here.
Yeah, the moon math is really hard to hold PulseChain, PLS. This morning, I'm just flew out to Cabo for the week, and one of the wallets I had like $3,000 or $4,000 with the PLS in it. And I'm like, you know what? Screw it. Chart consolidated a little bit here. Looks good for higher. Just swap it to PTGC. If you look at the mathematics and you look at the tokenomics and the algorithm, it's just like, well, even if I think PulseChain's going up, PTGC is going to maintain the APR. So you know what? In this wallet, screw it. Rotate it to PTGC. And I wholeheartedly believe that. I know everybody wants to preach diversification, this, that, and the other, but it's like, to me, any of my exposure to blue chips is probably better than PTGC. Now, is there other, lower cap coins that you can try to catch and chase and whatever? Sure. But in my opinion, I think PTGC is the index, and all my exposure to the blue chips really can pretty much be in the hands of PTGC. And maybe that's a little more risk, but I think there's a lot more upside possibility, and you get that passive income just for believing in that as well and holding.
The funny thing is when you say more risk, you kind of have to start checking the boxes and asking yourself, well, what makes it more risky, right? Is it the liquidity? Because if you look at the liquidity of PTGC, it actually is very close to some of the RH tickers liquidity at this point between PTGC and UFO, because a lot of the liquidity has been removed since the farms have been disincentivized. Then you can kind of ask yourself, well, who provides a lot of liquidity with the RH tickers? And a lot of it's community provided, which with PTGC, a huge amount of it's burned. And then PTGC asset, the contracts are renounced. And then you also think about like, okay, well, what also makes it risky? Oh, well, I don't want to get sold. The funny thing about the PTGC system, its chart proves that the community is like the least cheating community in all of PulseChain. They've experienced hundreds of X's, and it seems to always find another floor and another floor and another floor, to where every time other assets come up, not to say, but like when PulseChain runs up a 2x, it seems like it's always hitting hard resistance of people wanting profits and wanting profits because they've never got them. But PTGC has continuously put its users in profits and paid them out while continuously going up as well. So even that word, like, is it more risky? I sometimes even question, like, because I know what you're saying, right? The diversification, but then when you start checking all the boxes, what would normally make a smaller token more risky, it kind of like crosses all those out. Because you're like, no, it's really not more risky there. Oh, no, it's not more risky there. Even like the diversification part of it is literally written within it. The LP web structure built in diversification. So it's really funny when you start breaking it down and asking, like, is it really more risky? Because it's starting to prove that it's less.
Yeah, I would agree with that. That's why, again, I just look on a random wallet and I'm like, okay, I got whatever, 3,000-4,000 worth of PLS in here. Screw it. Swap it over. I think it's the better play. I guess the other risk parameter could be, somebody could question the contract, or maybe there's some kind of exploit out there or something. But, you've had 24 months, 2 years now of flawlessly running operation and being one of the biggest, best performing assets on PulseChain. So obviously been a target for some kind of exploit to happen, and nothing's happened so far. So knock on wood on that as well.
Yeah, 100%. We're obviously in the most risky class of finance ever. So you have to, that would probably be the reason diversification is real. You know, you never know what can happen, but when you kind of start checking the boxes, it does check a lot of those boxes saying like, wow, this kind of holds up better than a lot of things out there.
Some users on YouTube are enjoying the moon math. So just to give an idea, 100x on pulse from SAC price would be 0.01 per pulse. And if pTGC did a 5x on top of that, that would be a 1400x for pTGC, or a 57-cent pTGC. And you guys can do moon math very simply yourself. If you just estimate what Pulse is going to, what you think Pulse could do this cycle and what you think pTGC could do against Pulse, multiply those two, and then multiply it times the current price. And that will be your result.
I was doing the same kind of movement boy math calculation, but with the pair with PulseX. Now, like past performance of PTGC versus the ratio of PulseX, and basically I was like just stating, I was like, all right, 2x from here is this ratio. PTGC goes back to 9 high, and then I put it like the biggest, highest number that I possibly could think of that PulseX possibly might do, and that would be PulseX being at 8 cents. So that's actually PulseX doing a 3x on top of PulseChain at this kind of ratio too. So Pulse would be about 3 cents during this 3 cents, 4 cents, so around that range. But during that ratio with PulseX and pTGC just doing a 2x, I think it was like 60. And I did that same, or I did 7 because we've done 7x on top of PulseX about 3 other occasions. And if it did a 7x, pTGC would be at $2 a token.
Okay.
But that's like, we talk about Moon Boy math. It's Moon Boy, but it might not sound real, but it's just math and ratios.
I know it. There are smart people, some of my friends, that think we're going to be waving at 10 cents on our way to $1. We just haven't seen anything like this. We haven't seen technology like this before, and we haven't seen a chain like this before. And none of this has been done before. So it's all that. I love speculation. I like taking a chance. And this is one of the reasons I'm here. Because, man, I'm telling you, the upside potential is in this little ecosystem is tremendous.
I've been telling people lately, I've been talking about $1 because I'm going full boltard with the language now. Because the fact is that we're in crypto because this is where you actually can make those multipliers where humans could not imagine that it was possible. And it's been happening for multiple cycles since Bitcoin. And it happens on quality assets with product market fit, with massive communities backed by big people. And when you've got the network effect, and when you've got the trust, and when you've got the respect, and when you've got the backing, and you've got the marketing, and you've got the people, we were 6x away from 1 cent at the pre-time high. That's 100x away from $1.
And that happened 2 months after the general market topped. Ethereum topped 2 months prior to that. Bitcoin topped 2 months prior to that. So the macro for crypto was down for 2 months, and pTGC kept ripping to the upside for another 60 days.
This was before Richard won the case. This was before Richard came back and did a video looking amazing, sounding amazing, super happy. This is before all the bullishness of the community. You can even sense the camaraderie coming back in the community after, the community going through a hard time. I mean, 100x from we were already at almost the 6x away from a penny, and it just takes 100x to get to $1. And that's what I mean. Coach is like, yeah, these numbers sound crazy, but millions of X happen in crypto, right? It's you can see it in SHIB. You can see it in the biggest memes on these other chains. It doesn't mean that you're going to be able to cash out all of that. It means that you're freaking wealthy as hell in crypto money. And if you held your bag, you're done. B-Roots the other day was showing just the top 150, 200, even down to the 1,000 wallets of Shiba Inu. And you're talking about 50 million, 100 million, 3 million. Down at the bottom of the numbers, you're still in the millions of dollars, right? And SHIB right now has about 35 to 40 million in liquidity.
That's too bad for them. What if 5 to 10 of those guys wanted to exit at the same time in the same day? You know?
Well, the truth is they can't, Banana, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in crypto, that's usually the case, right? We were kind of just talking about that. When you do a ton of X's against the blockchain, you start to spread yourself from the blockchain. So people don't probably realize this, but Hex and Shiba Inu last cycle got to operate off of an X multiplier. The all-time low of ETH, I think, Nick, you could probably even correct me on this, let's say was $300 and went to almost roughly $5,000. So ETH did X's last cycle. So that means anything that had sustainability on chain was actually working on an X multiplier. The reason is no one even knew about the X multiplier. They just thought their asset was just going up a crazy amount of X's. But really, everyone was operating off of the X multiplier with ETH and just didn't even know about it because no one understood how these LPs functioned in that way at that time. But we know what we're working with, so we can actually plan out and mechanically plan out how to get these crazy numbers. And if the blockchain we're built on does X as we believe it can, it's going to increase our liquidity drastically, making it too when we go to those higher levels, we actually have enough liquidity to back the amount of market cap that we have to an extent, right? Everything in crypto is fractionalized. But the nice thing about our asset, because there is a situation where dude, no one can just exit everything, right? Everything's fractionalized. But a lot of times in crypto, even the people that have to hold up the price are not earning anything for doing so. What's very unique about this system, pTGC, is everyone who wants to remain in the system, support the system, loves the system actually rewards them back in built-in APY. And scarcity of the asset. Every single transaction they're on after is going to increase their APY as well. So there's incentive to remain in the system and support the thing that actually might have set you financially free as well. Usually it works in the other direction, right? It almost feels like it's forcing you out with either supply coming out to where you're ooh, I need to get at this value because other people might try to get at it too because there's more supply coming out, or there's nothing adding more liquidity, there's nothing in the asset more scarce. It in a way turns into a musical chairs event. And that thing about what happens usually when you'll see them trend down really, really fast is because everyone tries to get that seat when they're afraid the music is going to stop. But if you have mechanical code to keep music going, even in the moment in crypto when the music seems to be turned off, it creates a way better environment where everyone feels not rushed to grab a seat because there's other things at play, making sure that their seat remains there for them when they're ready. Obviously, no guarantee there's a seat for everyone. Again, everything's fractionalized, but to have a mechanics on your side to help ensure that situation.
Yeah, so I just put in the Jumbotron the on-chain LP for SHIB, and this excludes all SEX liquidity, obviously, but that doesn't matter. But if you take a look at the amount of on-chain LP for SHIB, being one of the biggest ERC20 tokens in the world, when we were at the previous all-time high, correct me if I'm wrong, but then were we not sitting on an LP larger than that?
With the UFO, I think we were at 44 million with UFO alone.
I think our LP was 380 million combined.
No, not the LP. The market cap was that.
Okay.
Yeah, LP wise, I don't remember. I definitely know we at one point we had 20 million of pTGC liquidity and 20 million of UFO liquidity. I don't know if that was the top. I forget that, but I know at one point we had roughly 20 mil each.
Correct. Now imagine we just went back to that, right? And then PulseChain did a 10x.
Yeah, that's technically $400 million of liquidity between the two assets.
And that's when people look at this cryptocurrency called the Grays and say, what in the hell just happened over there?
Yeah, it's so on crypto bubbles right now, we're pretty much the greenest thing throughout the year in the top 250 tokens. And mechanically, I don't see a reason why we don't keep that up, keep being one of the best appreciation assets throughout the next year. Mathematically, we have a lot of things on our side. Mechanically, a lot of things on our side. Our community is strong as hell. We just got to keep doing what we're doing. But when we start having the help of PulseChain, that should increase that percentage. But also what we're going to start to increase, and I believe we'll start to get in the top rankings of, is market cap, right? So when our market cap increases, we can very easily be in the top 50 of assets. And then, like you said, Mando, our liquidity is going to be larger than probably any of the assets that are up in our range on DEX liquidity. Not obviously, probably not compared to the top in the top 10, but I'm talking about around the top 50. We're going to be blowing these tokens out of the water as far as those metrics go. And when they see what's under the hood, what we're actually using that liquidity for on a daily basis, I do think it's going to shock mainstream crypto. When I say unfair advantage, I literally think it's an unfair advantage if all plays out like I hope it does.
Yeah, so one more thing. So when you look at SHIB and you look at the holders, right? Which is important to do. And we're using a big crypto because it's best to just see how that system works. Because, a lot of people talk about, people are going to sell and all this with it. There's not a billions of dollars in market cap crypto that doesn't have large holders. So, for example, the largest few wallets, the number one wallet has $6,328 million worth of SHIB. 41% of supply in the number one wallet. If you go down to wallet 50, that is Huobi Exchange, just above KuCoin. And that wallet's worth $16 million. And if you go to the next page, go all the way down to the 100th wallet of SHIB, that wallet is worth $8.2 million. So it's completely fractional reserved. Now, I can assure you that anyone who is in SHIB in the top 100 is doing whatever they want, living however they want, driving a Lambo whenever they want, doing whatever they need to do without any worry about, oh, someone's going to ruin the job. Because that's how crypto works. It's fractional reserved.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yeah, what's up?
Hey, what's up? Hey, I just wanted to mention that the liquidity on pTGC isn't just liquidity; it's protocol owned and locked and burned. So it'll be there forever, literally, and that means that you can be here forever. That means that pTGC will be around in 15, 20 years, 30 years when your kids might want to, claim some of what you've created for them, right? So, the sky is yours. Yeah.
Not only protocol owned, but it's not idle liquidity, just
Right.
as exit liquidity. It is working capital.
Right. And for every single pool, like I'll use a hex pool, for example, if there's 8 hex pools and pTGC is one of them, that means anytime one of those other pools moves, ours has to get balanced. So we're actually putting all of that liquidity that's sitting in hex and just sitting there, we are putting it to use, even though they may not be.
100%.
I just want to jump on real quick because I got a meeting in 4 minutes, so unfortunately I won't be able to join, but hopefully I can cut it quick. So
No, it's good to hear from you, Ty.
yeah, I just wanted to jump in and say hi.
What's up, Ty?
What's up, Mando? What's up, Comet? Just listening in on yesterday's. Pretty dope. All right, I'll catch you guys later. Bye.
All right, see you, man.
Yeah, Ty, thanks for hopping in.
Have a good night, brother.
Thanks, you too.
Is there anything that would prevent pTGC to going beyond 10 cents? I mean, the cycle. I mean, what could stop it from, going further than 10 cents, going to $1?
PulseChain only going 2x. It's the only, but
Mhm.
that's not going to happen. So
I have to agree. It's it all rides on PulseChain. Duffy Slashen says it's crazy. We refer to it as moon math, but in reality, with time, it's just built-in moon mechanics that will inevitably play out. Does anybody know the median size holding in pTGC for any given wallets?
Let me dig. I'm pretty sure someone in our community made a chart that showed a quantity of each size of wallet, how many people held each size of wallet. So and I'll try to bring that up and I can tell you. But we know that only 2,500 people hold over $1,000 worth of pTGC. Technically not people, wallets, right? Because I'm sure some people have multiple wallets.
Yeah, it's 2,200 now. 2,200 wallets hold more than $1,000 in pTGC.
That's good.
Mm-hmm. Duffy also says there's nothing built like this. Not saying that nothing else can be in the future, but the Grays got the next few light years on lock. Good one, Duffy. Polygon asks, would it be possible for pTGC to get a listing before Pulse? I don't think so. I think an exchange would list the layer 1 before it would list any tokens on the layer 1. That way people can get the gas token. That just makes sense to me.
And I don't think we're probably going to get listed on exchange. It wouldn't be smart or wise for PTGC to be on exchange because you have to think about this.
Mm-hmm.
If a person goes in, they buy it, they get hit with 5% there.
Yep.
They want to send it to their wallet. That's another 5%. So
yeah, no,
it wouldn't be the best for the community. So I don't think. But there's other avenues that you can do.
Sure. Let's just get Pulse listed.
That's like the benefit, right? If we just have Pulse listed, Hex listed, PulseX listed, we are so bonded with these assets, it's almost like us getting listed. But on top of that, all of our liquidity remains on DEXs. And with the liquidity remaining on DEXs means we get to generate revenue off of that liquidity.
Mm-hmm.
So it also forces, one of the things that I love about the Grays ecosystem is that it forces people to come to PulseChain if they want to participate in this amazing technology, right? We can't take it somewhere else because, like what Coach said, like, okay, yeah, the exchanges can spool up nodes for pTGC, but that's just not going to happen with a 5% fee on transaction. So this is exclusive to PulseChain, native to PulseChain. If you want to participate, you have to come to PulseChain. And it is true. If Pulse and PulseX and Richard's Forge get listed, it's like we're getting listed because we own so much of those assets.
Does anybody know where we can get the widget for the daily price and volume for UFO and pTGC? I think somebody built an iPhone app for that.
It's Kong.
Okay.
It's not an app, it's a widget, though.
We just got to reach out to him directly.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have the quantities of position size. If you want to hear them real quick, Amanda.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay. So for pTGC, I'll start there. There is 16 whales, 122 sharks, 641 dolphins, and 2,000 squids, and then 11,562 less than that, right? What just remaining. And then with UFO, and this is like a month or two old, so it's not exact, but it's close enough. With UFO, there's 15 whales, 106 sharks, 490 dolphins, and 1,148 squids.
1,498 squids?
No, 1,148 squids.
Okay.
I can send you this picture if you want it.
Sure. Yeah, I wrote it down, but I don't mind having the picture.
Picture's kind of cool.
Okay. Yeah, please. Cool. It's very similar distribution between pTGC and UFO, I would say. what else? What else is happening, guys? Who wants to come up and chat? What's on your minds? Any news?
I think Richard just made a tweet. Maybe hop over there and see what he has to say. It's PulseChain's second birthday, so maybe he's saying happy birthday or something.
Okay.
I don't know if you want to pull it up on your screen.
I'm pulling it up. Okay. Happy second anniversary, PulseChain, he says. 2 years of flawless operation. It's PulseX's 2-year anniversary as well. I bet there's a whole world out there that don't even know these amazing things exist. And with a little marketing, they could go from little known to well known. It's a great opportunity. I agree. It's a great opportunity. And he posted a picture of the PulseX Inc. and Hex prices 20 minutes ago.
Yeah, the opportunity in front of us right now, if PulseChain is successful like we all believe it will be, the opportunity with pTGC, with UFO, and the RH tickers is just mind-blowing, right? Like, the amount of X's that Richard can easily alone, like, this is just him. This doesn't include any other value coming into the chain that he could do simply alone is mind-blowing, right? Like, he can bring 100 million. Right now, his holdings, his stack wall, it's probably worth close to 400 million. If he brought a quarter of that right now, it would technically send PulseChain through that. That doesn't include new people coming in. That doesn't include onboarding. That doesn't include people leaving either. The opportunity that's in front of us right now, I think, is so good that people are almost second guessing themselves.
You could hardly overstate the opportunity, in my opinion.
What's up, boys?
What's up, Trevor?
Dude, I gotta piggyback on that. It's so funny. Like, I was just telling my friend today, I'm like, this thing is and when I say this thing, I mean PulseChain in general, and like all the cores and pTGC and like the I mean, honestly, really at this point, just about anything, everything's so sensitive right now. It's very sensitive to any sort of price movement whatsoever. And it's funny. You were just saying that like, and honestly, Gray, as you were saying that, I'm like smiling. I'm just sitting here on my deck, and I just start smiling. And when you were like, Richard alone could pump a few dollars into this thing, dude, pocket change. And when you really like start doing the math on the amount of cash that could be pumped into this thing, it's so sensitive, dude. Everything is so low. All things comparatively speaking, like the liquidity is low, like everything is low. It just takes a little bit of movement, man. And this thing is off to the races. And it's actually it's funny. Today I was on that, what is it? The app, Pampy? Pampy, is that how you say it? Pampy.app?
Yes.
And yeah, I was on that thing messing around just on my computer today. I was just messing around with some figures, and I was like, holy shit, dude.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking to myself, I remember back at the peak of Hex at 56 cents, and I remember just taking Staker app and just refreshing, literally, just on a Wednesday at 2 p.m., like nothing, right? And you're just refreshing. And it's like so-and-so staked, $15 million worth for 30 days. And then this guy did this for a couple of minutes, a couple days. And this guy did that. The amount of liquidity was absolutely stupid. And if that liquidity was currently, and that was just Hex. If that amount of liquidity was just in PulseChain right now, dude, we're talking prices that would literally shock like shock people, change their entire lives, the entire course of their lives. And so like, I don't know, you just mentioned that like all it takes is a little bit. And I very much so agree with you, man. It just takes a little bit, and it will. I believe it will happen for sure, man.
You could pick a random day when Hex was, let's say, around 5-10 cents, not even the high. You pick an average day when it was trending upwards, and you just take that average Joe money and bring it into PulseChain right now, and it would send PulseChain up probably 10x.
Dude, literally, it's so sensitive. Everything is so like, and I know this is PTGC space, but dude, even Hex is gonna run, man, and we're all obviously fans of Hex. Dude, it's everything is so sensitive right now, just because the liquidity is so low.
Why do you think we have so much LP with Hex?
That's what I'm saying, dog. I'm here for it, bro. I'm here for it. Like, hearing you say that got me hyped, because that was something I realized today when I was just at my computer. I'm like, dude, as soon as the guy could inject 5 million to him, dude, he could ship that out tomorrow, and it wouldn't affect his livelihood whatsoever. And what I'm not saying, let me be very clear. What I'm not saying is don't be one of those people who's on X dependent on quote unquote sack daddy. I hate that stuff.
Yes.
It kind of drives me nuts.
Mm-hmm.
But what I am saying is if he decides to inject some cash into this thing, 5 million bucks is going to send this thing just running.
5x pretty much.
Exactly.
And then what happens is people realize, oh crap, my chance of getting this at these prices is disappearing, and then the FOMO kicks in, right?
I think there's different levels. There's totally going to be like multiple levels of at that 5x, that 10x, that 20x. Like that's the beauty of game theory. And don't forget, man, Richard Hart is one of the best game theorists out there. The guy literally locked himself in a room playing video games for half a decade. So like the guy, he knows game theory. That's for sure. But no, it's just. I had to jump up here and speak just because that was something I looked into today. I was sitting here playing around with numbers, and I was like, this is a joke. I'm sorry, this is a joke. 20 million bucks injected into this chain. Like, I've onboarded, like, realistically, I've probably onboarded, like, millions, plural, and if little old dinky fucking Trevor can do it, then, like, I'm telling you, man, like, once this thing hits mainstream, it's game over. It's absolutely game over. And this thing is going to run like you've never seen, like you never, ever thought possible. And a lot of these coins like pTGC, and everything, B promotes and all that kind of stuff, the real trusted tokens outside of the cores, we all know the cores are good. But dude, it's going to be shocking. And I think, and that's just my own personal opinion. You take it for what it's worth. But I just love the topic of like what it takes to kind of get this thing started, and it's such a little amount of cash to get this thing like really starting to hum, So I'll shut up. That's all I had to say.
Yeah, I like the point how you say it's not really about it being Richard, or it could be ultimately anyone, right? The truth is the amount of money it takes is pretty much very, very small amounts in finance terms. It takes small amounts to come over the bridge and send pTGC to crazy levels, send PulseChain to crazy levels. Of course, there is a founder of this blockchain that has the funds, but it doesn't need to be him. It's just anyone finding out about what this product is and saying, wow, this is an extreme deal on an amazing product. I'm going to scoop up what's there in liquidity because there's just not a lot. There's not a lot for anyone to get, right? That's the thing.
Dude, totally.
There's just not a lot on the market.
A prime example, like just an in real life example, was recently I was talking to a friend of mine. This is hilarious. He's like connected with an ex of mine. Anyway, that's a whole nother story, bro. But like, anyway, he hit me up and he's like, hey, Trev, I know you're in this crypto game. He's like, I know you're in this crypto game. And he called me and literally he was like, but I want to be kind of precautious about it. he's like, I got about $1 million to play with. You know, he's like a high net worth guy, owns a ton of property out in Missouri, whatever. And he was like, hey, I have some cash to play with. What would you kind of do? He is one person, like one, and he's got $1 million to play with. One. Like, dude, I'm telling you, this thing's gonna go nuts, dude. Like, it's just a matter of time. It's not about Sack Daddy and what Sack Daddy can do for us and all this, that stupid narrative. That thing drove me nuts. But like, there's a lot of people who, when they find out about this, my hope is that when they do find out about it, that it's easy for them to onboard. You know, I'm not saying it's difficult right now, but for a guy like the guy I was just talking to, dude, he can barely work a computer, but he can get on a centralized exchange and connect his his account and get that money over. That's why I'm such a big proponent of getting listed on Binance or one of these other things, because it's going to make it a whole lot easier for these guys to onboard, and then I can train them on how to, like, hey, you need to take your tokens, move them into your private wallet, really secure your position, you know. But anyway, I won't go on that rabbit trail. I just think that there's a lot of potential here, man, and you just started talking about how little it takes to make this price go up, and I had to chime in and say, hey, so, but I'm stoked, man. I'm really pumped. Some of you other fools got to start talking now. Come on, there you are, Karen. I see you.
Yeah, true. I thought I'd just add to that as well. I mean, you know, the typical thing for all of us at the moment is that, well, people who have invested, and I think a lot of us have, you know, since SAC, we've been just, it's the whole recency bias thing. And what does that mean? That means that, you know, it's hard for us to imagine a world where the core tokens are absolutely rocketing, because they've just been pretty much down for like longer than 4 years. So pTGC's, you know, done its thing, and it will continue to do its thing, but just we haven't seen it with the core tokens yet, and it's just hard to imagine the core tokens doing numbers like pTGC has done in the past, which is going to like absolutely slingshot us to heights that we can't even imagine. So yeah, just wanted to add that. Like we've all, it's hard to get our heads around it because we've just experienced 4 years of, you know, really with the cores going so.
It's been brutal, but like, just, I mean, what Gray just said, Gray, what was that stat, Gray, if you're still listening? It was specifically the Dolphins. Like, how many Dolphins were there right now? It's like 100? Is that right?
Like 600?
641 pTGC Dolphins.
Yeah.
You're early, guys. You're early.
And what's the current price of a dolphin?
Don't laugh so easily, though, Trevor.
The price of a dolphin right now is about 12 grand.
12 grand. So just 50x that, 100x that.
Yeah, you're
seeing those numbers in 3 months.
Nah, 12 grand.
Yeah, Zen did a post today on that. What was the post that you did with B. Ruth with his old tweet?
Okay.
I saw that tweet. Seriously, B. I saw him here earlier. I was going to say that was such a good post. The cost to be a dolphin when at the time of his post was $1,500.
September 3rd. It was September 3rd, and you get a dolphin for, like you said, $1,500, and today it's $12,000. If it 50x, if we 50x from here, 600 grand.
Yeah, but at the top, at our previous all-time high, it was almost 50 grand from $1,500.
That's exactly right. That is exactly right. And so that's previous all-time high. Hopefully, we surpass that by quite a few X's if Pulse decides to steal the show. You know what I mean?
And pTGC, I mean, Zen will tell you this all day, every day. It hasn't kicked into that gear yet that he has basically made this protocol do. And the gear is that the core tokens start running and this thing shines brighter than anything. Isn't that right, Zen?
Yeah, there's a key ingredient to this formula, right? You're trying to whip up the perfect formula, the perfect thing, and there's a key ingredient to make it happen. And without the key ingredient, like you can still put down whatever you're baking, right? It's still good. But with that key ingredient, with the frosting on top of the cake, it makes it that much better. And I truly believe the success of this blockchain is a key ingredient no one has even seen before. It's the Mento in the Coke, right? You've seen the kids do that. That's what I see that becoming. That is the fuel to this machine. The fact of this machine being able to do what it's done without PulseChain helping it really at all, like there has been little glimpses of PulseChain helping it, but in general, PulseChain's been down to the right. And for it to be able to thrive in the environment that it's technically supposed to not thrive in, I think gives the proof of how strong the machine actually is mechanically.
Yeah, all you have to do is just go to the weekly and look at the chart, or go to the daily chart and look at the chart as an expression of what a machine is doing. Because the chart doesn't lie. It's recording buys, it's recording sells, right? And when you look at that chart, you normally look at a chart like that and say, wow, that thing's freaking killing it. If you were on ETH, if you were on AVAX, if you were on Sol, your gas coin and the things that you were connected to did massive X, right? When you look at the chart, it's amazing. It's a phenomenal chart, but you got to keep in mind that the things that were supposed to be the things that lift it up have been actually pulling it down like a magnet. When you think about the math behind that reality, that the things that it's connected to has been pulling it down instead of not even going up, just helping lift it up, people start to realize what this thing is.
Dude, totally. I want to say something, man. The other day I was, I don't remember the guy's name or whatever. He looks like he's got a lot of followers. He popped in this particular space earlier and just said hi and then left or whatever. I'm forgetting his name. But the other day, Mando, you and Greg, a few others who joined the space and talked to him. And I gotta say, man, I was listening and I was driving. And the way you guys like explain PTGC like in such a professional way, a respectful way. This dude had never heard about it, no clue, and now he's like posting, he's joining spaces like that. That is what we need to break outside of the echo chamber. Man, that just made me so happy, dude, to actually be able to witness that space. And then also now in this space, see him chime in. Dude's got a ton of followers, clearly very, educated in the crypto space. And now he's going to talk about it more. I mean, there's that too. You may have these big influencers. Once PulseChain is not so, whatever you want to call it, subdued, gate-kept, unknown, whatever. You're going to have these influencers come in and they're going to find their tokens of their choice outside of the cores. Yes, the cores are important, but they're going to find other things to play with. And I think I just thought it was so cool, man, the way that you guys actually educated that dude on the space. And then now you're like seeing the fruits of your labor, in real time. And it was just, I got to say, respect. That was so cool. We definitely need more of that because the way the PTGC community and the specific leaders of it like present themselves is such a classy way. And I think it's attractive, dude. It's attractive when people can see a quote unquote, and I'm going to say this, but quote unquote tax token that is not just some random tax token. That's ridiculous. It's so cool, man. It's awesome to see these people on board. And my hope is that people realize that it's kind of it's the fee to enter in on something really, really amazing, and I think that that this dude got it. So, man, great work the other day, dude. I just had to tell you over voice here. It's awesome.
Yeah, thanks, Trev. Appreciate that, man. It's been like that since day one. Even when we got together and I gave you the 3-hour overview,
Absolutely. Most people don't know that, for those that are listening, Mando spent, I mean, I'm going to be real. Like, I think you and I on the over like voice and just you walking me through what this thing was. I think we probably spent, we probably spent 6 to 10, maybe even 12 hours. I mean, I had so many questions, and you patiently answered them, and it was great. It was awesome. I really enjoyed that. And then I got every single question answered, and then I dipped in, and I really, really enjoyed that, man, for real.
Yeah, I enjoyed it too. You know what else I got out of it? I got a great friendship out of it.
Straight up, dude. Straight up.
Because we were peers before, but we're friends now, and
Absolutely.
that's what this is doing, man.
100%, man. So what you guys are doing is working here, man. Like, jump into these random freaking spaces, dude. Your profile pics, they look good. Like, people want to talk to you. They want to know who you are and how do you have all these followers and stuff. Like, I was watching you, Mando, on that last space, and these dudes, God bless their soul, they're, no offense, but they're not gonna make it. Some of these guys on that last space when you were speaking. But the one individual who was listening to you was the guy with 100,000 plus followers, and he knew you knew what you were talking about, and he actually listened, and now he's onboarded, and now he just popped into this space for a hot minute. That's so, dude. There's so much weight in that right there, and magnitude in that.
So let me piggyback off that. So I've been going into other spaces. The other day, I went to a space. Coach was in there. Coach is really good about going in and breaking into spaces, and just doing what Coach does. And there was a Zen space, right? An X1 space, and a bunch of guys in there. And so I just go in there and I start piggybacking off of Coach's energy. And they see me come in and they're like, "Oh, Mando," because a lot of these Zen guys came from Richard's ecosystem, And I just start talking about it. And there's some jokers in there that are hating on Richard still and doing all these different things. I just kind of just chalked it up and I just let them talk, and I just opened up the conversation in the way that I do, just very direct, to the point, classy, but postured. And so if you're looking at that space for the half an hour I was in there and you're listening to it, you'd think it's just a shit show. But what people don't understand is that there's always real people listening for real information. So what ends up happening is my DMs just start to blow up, right? "Hey, Mando, thank you so much for that information about pTGC and about PulseChain. How do you do this? How do you do that?" And the reality is you don't have to care about the face value of the space as much as you have to care about putting out quality, legitimate, genuine information, so that when the people that are scouring the spaces for that alpha hear it, they hear it. And then they contact you. And that's how you onboard. You don't care about getting into the dynamics too much of the conversation as much as you do just about planting those professional seeds in a classy way. You have to be postured because a lot of these spaces are very, in your face, debate, machismo, ego against ego. But for the people who are qualified to do that, it's fun to do it, and it's meaningful because people actually get onboarded big time by representing it like that.
Dude, absolutely. I couldn't agree more, man. And I would love to, as just someone who's watching from the outside, man, I would love to see us all join more outside spaces and come correct and come logical and come educated, man. It was a pleasure to be a listener on that space and then watch in real time, someone who's a legit user of cryptocurrency, believer of cryptocurrency, and for them to like actually say, okay, this is the real truth, like this is sick, and then they jump over. And what's cool is that that's also like kind of a testament to the cores too, man. These guys are going to be exposed to some really cool, amazing stuff that Richard's created, and just by finding out about pTGC, like it's a win-win all around, man. So
well, a lot of the conversation is around PulseChain for me, and Richard. The fact that Richard won so handily, and we have such a unique position now with the clarity of PulseChain, PulseX, and Hex, and Richard, which very few blockchains have. It gives us an edge that nobody has. It just really does. So the fact that I can use that as a tool in my toolbox to say, hey, look, I need you to just follow Richard, read through his last 20 tweets, see that he just did what he did, look at the prices, know what kind of a robust blockchain it is, look at the top 20, 30, 40 cryptos on there, and tell me why you don't have 1% in your portfolio.
Mm-hmm.
It really just starts there.
Exactly. Couldn't agree more, dude. Couldn't agree more. I think, man, and from like just kind of a overarching perspective, man, I think that we're, if I was a betting man, and I am, I think this summer and this fall, it's gonna be a fun time, man. It's gonna be a really, really fun time. I'm excited to see where we go with this thing. We're starting to see Richard kind of, get a little bit more active, and I don't know. I really, honestly don't. But I don't know how much weight this whole red notice thing is playing with his, activity. I have no idea. But if I had to bet, I would imagine that he's about to get real active in the coming months, and we should see some uptick here. So, but no, man. Hey, I just wanted to. I'm going to drop down and be a listener, but I just wanted to say, Gray, to your point earlier, it takes a little to start a big bonfire, and I think we're almost there, man. I think it's about to kind of light up, bro. So, guys, thanks for listening to me. Thanks for having me up here. I'm going to step down, but I genuinely appreciate it.
Yeah, Trevor, thanks for coming in. Yeah, that analogy is perfect, right? The smallest spark can make the biggest fire with just the right fuel to provide that spark to grow. I think we have all the fuel here with PulseChain. We just need a little bit of a spark now. And on the comment thing, obviously we're kind of talking about pTGC and UFO to them. But the cool thing about is, like, as we educate these people from other blockchains on pTGC, on UFO, we're also educating them on Richard and PulseChain. And these guys, like, he even said, like, when he didn't know really much about Richard, and he'd never even been on PulseChain before, but to actually get pTGC and get UFO, he has to come over to PulseChain. He actually has to be educated on Richard, or doesn't have to be educated on Richard. He has to know about Richard more and understand his principles and go across the bridge. So I feel like we're going about it a little bit different than maybe some of the maxis, but we are onboarding some players who have following, who have their own followers of people who aren't on PulseChain yet also. And by getting some of the larger players over here, we might get a lot of the more smaller players who, those people start to add up over time. Mo Mindset, Ty, did you guys have anything?
Hey, hi. I thought I'd drop in a quick minute to listen to you guys. Firstly, you guys are doing really, really well. Props to you all. And I definitely love the logo, the pTGC and the pTGC, the UFO. I've put your logos into my paintings, one of Richard Hart and the latest one of B-Roots.
Yeah, I saw them. They're really sweet, man. And thanks for including the pTGC logo in your oil paintings. That means a lot. Obviously, those take a ton of time. So I appreciate you, putting the extra time into adding the pTGC logo to them. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I just wanted to drop in and say hi and thank you guys so much for your consistent posts. And I've been seeing, Gray, you've been kind of ramping up the posts here for pTGC. Normally it's like 2 posts. Now I'm seeing a bunch more. It's really awesome.
Yeah, it's time to put the pedal to the floor. I think the market's heating up. I do believe people will start coming into the market. Obviously, market's going up is from money flowing into the market. And if there's a time to be working hard, I do believe right now is the time. I kind of been doing a little call to action to the community. Like, if there is a time to be working hard, I think right now is the time. And I'm trying to also tell myself the same thing. Like, hey, if you were to work hard, right now is the time. Like, get on it.
You're leading the charge, and you're showing by example of how it's done, and I respect it. And another thing is, I'm just really excited for PTGC. As there's so many ways for people to gain interest into us, whether it's through Richard Hart, through our tax, where no matter what happens, we're just getting more and more valuable throughout time. We're just becoming more scarce. And whenever I explain that to my friends, they, like, a lot of them are immediately just like, that is such a great idea. Why haven't people done it before? And then that's kind of when I get into like, oh, it's because we're in PulseChain. And then I get into PulseChain, and there's that aspect. And then there's going to be the other aspect where we're pretty much like a meme, where we're just going to be either a meme coin, a utility coin, whatever it is, whatever people are interested in, that's the way that they're going to gravitate to us. And I would say probably the biggest attraction is going to be us just going up and to the right so hard compared to the other coins. Or just like, yeah, I'm just super excited for the times to come. I believe so much eyeballs are going to come in just for the hype of just us continuously going up compared to all the others.
Yeah, I think our next thing is, right, like, we've caught in a lot of eyeballs on PulseChain, but the next goal is not really PulseChain, it's other blockchains, right? Is we need to start catching the eyes of all of crypto. And I think on the next leg up, with Richard having clarity, with possibly Richard's tickers moving up alongside of us, instead of us doing it like kind of just alone, I do think that's going to help get the eyeballs of crypto in general, and that's what we want. We want to be winning in the grand scale of crypto, not just the little sub ecosystem called PulseChain. And by winning in crypto in general, not just the sub ecosystem of PulseChain, I think that's going to help PulseChain win. And obviously for pTGC and UFO, we have the potential to win that much more.
100%. And I saw the post where we're striving for top 50, but with pTGC being the greatest coin of all time, I believe eventually, do you think we can hit top 10 this cycle?
We probably wouldn't be legitimately ranked at that point. We'd probably catch too many eyeballs, and they would be like, what the heck is this? Just like I think Richard's tokens will never be properly ranked in that respect. Actually, I take that back. Richard's tokens, probably now that he's beaten the SEC, he probably could get properly ranked. If PulseChain does what I believe it can, there's no doubt in my mind we won't be ranked with those tickers. Richard will, if he does what I believe he will be creating the biggest wealth transfer that's probably ever existed in humanity for the most part, or at least in this decade. It probably is going to be to a very, very small knit group of people, the people who are here right now. And then the people who come in later will probably make some awesome gains as well, but the real winners will be the people who have been kind of grinding on PulseChain in the meantime. Obviously, there's no guarantees of that happening. Richard could do nothing for all I know, but I do believe in Richard. That's why I built here, and I do believe it's going to be a very amazing show once it starts.
Yeah, for sure. I believe long term, we're going to be so great that I see eventually we'll be a top 5, maybe even like right behind Bitcoin and Ethereum, because in my brain, pTGC is the greatest. So I see it as top 3 eventually, but who knows how long till then.
That is the craziest shit to hear. Oh my goodness, dude! You have no idea how crazy that is to hear.
It's crazy, but
Yeah.
who knows?
No,
You know what?
Yeah, I mean,
I was going to say, boys, you know what though? Like, if we get up to a top 50 or a top 40 or a top 30, you're right, Adrian. It's like strive for top 10. Awesome. But the amount of liquidity that we're going to have compared to any other asset in crypto that's ever existed, I don't know, Xander. I know you sort of harped on it or touched on it before, but it's real money that people can actually change their lives and stay in the ecosystem. And I can see, everyone's jumping on board now on this space. Of course, they might want to add a little bit to it, like B-Roots or Coach. But yeah, the liquidity, man, is what gets me every time when I think about it. Because I don't think we've seen a crypto like this where the liquidity could actually be so big that, like most crypto bros out there, don't they understand liquidity? Do they really understand it to our level now? I don't know.
They don't. Pretty much everything that I've ranted on these spaces, I've learned on my own, and I've never found real sources talk about them. The closest source that I found is Richard himself.
Totally.
Yeah, definitely all of you have been very educational as a new person in crypto. Not so new now, but I didn't know how important liquidity was back then. And just you saying that now, imagine, top 3, top 5, top 10, how massive that liquidity is. Just mind-boggling to think. We're going to be having way more economic energy than countries at that point.
wow.
Yeah, I think a lot of those numbers obviously are very dependent on how successful PulseChain is. I do think mechanically we will thrive and hit crazy numbers just on our own. But getting high up into those top rankings will take a push from PulseChain. We have to take into consideration, the market share that ETH holds, Bitcoin holds, stables hold, and stuff like that. But definitely I agree, like when we hit the top 50, or if we hit the top 50, when you look at the tokens within the 100 to 50 range, and you look at mechanically what they have, there isn't much there. And I think once we get to those levels, mechanically what we'll have under the hood in comparison will really start to become noticeable. The fact of like you're talking about, the liquidity, right? A lot of people can't have a lot of liquidity because they're worried about the X's for one. The ability that we have of being able to add tons of liquidity and not have to worry about X's because we can get a crazy multiplier of X's due to being built on an undervalued blockchain. If this undervalued blockchain becomes successful, it gives us such an unfair advantage, it's not even funny.
Yeah, just a couple things that I thought about was that, like, the run-up that we just had, that was all community power, 100%. We were, doing it on our own. And we were just, killing it on our own, right? And so we actually haven't seen the network effect from the chain. So we haven't even seen what that'll look like. So if 14,000 people can do that, then, what can the chain do, right?
Yeah, the truth is it's not even 14,000 people, Ty. We were just saying earlier that it's only 2,200 people that hold over $1,000 of pTGC.
Yeah, I mean,
we are ultimately in a financial sector that I think only 5% of the world even has dipped their toes into. So no one even really is in crypto or knows about crypto. On the deeper end of that, a fraction of those people even know about PulseChain. So pretty much 0% of the world even knows about PulseChain. And then a fraction of that even knows about pTGC.
Yeah.
So a fraction of a percent of the world that knows even what we're doing right now. And what we're doing is ultimately trying to create our own asset. it's a form of a revolution if done properly.
That's cool.
Now let me just put some numbers. Let's do Coach's Moonboy numbers and looking at how much liquidity each liquidity pool would have. So if PulseChain goes to a penny, if PulseChain goes to a penny, and I put 7x on top of PulseChain for PTGC, because that's what it's done a lot in the past. So that's, for the listeners in the room, that's the ratio between Pulse and PTGC. So from here, it's probably, I think we're at 12 right now. We would have to be at 12 times 7. We would be at 84 to Pulse ratio, okay? So our price would be at 77 cents, okay? That's a 1,964x. The liquidity currently right now with PTGC is sitting at 1.7 million with just PulseChain alone. So if and when or that ratio occurs, there would be 1.9 million or billion dollars in liquidity with PTGC. Like, we're not joking around type of stuff. Even with
what's sorry, keep going. Sorry, I'll save my questions.
Let's just say that we just do a 2x on top of PulseChain. Highly doubt it, but 2x, that's a 561x. 561 times 1.7 equals $953 billion or $1 million in liquidity with PulseChain, just PulseChain. We haven't even talked about how many X's PulseChain does from there. So that liquidity is that much greater too, in hindsight. So we're gonna have billions of dollars in liquidity.
Imagine how much arbitrage it'll take to balance that pool.
Yep. It's called checkmate.
Boom.
I'm looking at the top 50 cryptos. I pulled it up on ChatGPT. The number 50 is Digibyte, $250 million market cap. Number 25 is The Graph, $5 billion market cap. Number 10, Tron, $25 billion market cap. Number 1, of course, is Bitcoin, 2 trillion. I can see us going into the top 50 easily.
Yeah, I mean, we hit 200 on our own.
Imagine how much we will have burned by then, too.
Yep. Imagine how much more will be in liquidity because the protocol is adding to liquidity on its own. Right? I think that's probably something that's probably forgotten a lot, is that the liquidity add is happening 24/7.
And then I remember when on the last run up, when we were watching sort of, our sort of steep incline, the APY that we were getting paid off was just, I remember there were a few weeks there where I was just like, my jaw was dropping on how quickly we were just adding tokens by just holding and staking and locking as well. Imagine once the volume comes in, like proper volume. I mean, volume that altcoins get on, say, Ethereum, the ones that get that awesome adoption. Once we get to those levels, the amount of APY that's going to be distributed to all of us because of just the buys and the sells constantly with the volume, it's just going to be. You can just sort of imagine it and see it. We got a glimpse of it. I think we got a small glimpse of it, a couple months back. If we're right, if that lasts for a longer period of time, it's going to be magical.
Yeah, I could see it like having an effect where the protocol runs out of tokens, right? For every token burned, that's one less token that gets reflections. So the amount of reflections you get per token increases over time. And I just see it reaching an inflection point where the growth, the chart literally does like a squared, you know? But that's probably 15 years, 20 years. Who knows how long it would take to make something like that happen.
Yeah, that would be gnarly. I was, you hear about people when they're minting Bitcoin back then and the price that it's at now, how they'd be getting like 50 Bitcoin a time. How I look at it, how eventually pTGC is going to be $1. So I just look at all the coins that we're getting and I'm just like, wow, this much money or this much money I'm going to be getting in the future. Like that's crazy to even think about.
Yeah, Adrian's right. Like you got to be thinking about this. Like it's a long term hold. It's an investment. Like your investment's going to go up into the right over time, and yeah, there's going to be corrections, but the amount of APY you're earning now, if you can just survive off that and not see your principal, it's still going to do crazy numbers.
Definitely. To my people who don't really invest, and I kind of just tell them, just pTGC. I tell them pTGC is like the golden goose, and the reflections are the eggs. You never kill the goose, and you just let it continue growing, and you just live off the eggs, and you'll be great for the rest of your life. And I see that with pTGC.
Good on you, man. Quote that. That's got to be that's got to be a quote of the day. Throw it on X, and let's get 1,000 likes.
Yeah, fat golden goose we're gonna have, all of us.
Yeah, I mean, I can remember back to when pTGC was being designed, and just like how many things were taken into account, how many positives, what can we do, right? It was great to hear that. I mean, to see it turn into this is just awesome, because what that means is that we've created a way to help others on a scale that I couldn't do by myself, right? So I think that's fantastic.
I agree. And just to be able to tell our friends or family or even strangers about pTGC and just being confident that it's not going to get rugged or that it's not the chain's going to get hacked or whatever. Like, just having that confidence in it, it's nice.
Well, let me drop it a little bit more. So I just pulled out the hex PTGC or liquid or like LP and token and put it on the calculator, and I put hex at $1. Okay, and the PTGC doing a 4x on top of it. PTGC has done a lot more than a 4x on top of on top of hex. So that's a very vague number. So that would be PTGC would be at 19 cents. So that would be a 495x. If the liquidity from PTGC or the ratio of PTGC goes up 4x. So 495. And this is just talking about the liquidity. 400. What is it? 495. 495 times 1.7. The price of the liquidity with just PulseChain, with the liquidity or the price point of PTGC at 19 cents, that PulseChain liquidity would be $83 million. So I feel like that's going to turn a lot of heads moving forward, too. Good talking point.
Man, I wish these spaces had a fire emoji so I could blast that.
I think it's something that's unfamiliar is that we are not used to $1 becoming more valuable. I think that's a foreign concept. It feels foreign, right? Kind of neat.
Yeah, it's just people just need to change their perspective of the old reality that the world like presented and propaganded people for since childhood, and just like my sister had a wedding that I went to, and she finally got married. But the people there's like 200 people, and people come up to me and talk to me and ask me, "What do you do for a living?" I was like, "I do crypto," and it's just like a foreign language. Even when I start talking about it, you can guess how in depth I go about it. So it goes right over their heads. But it's going to get to some kind of point where at banks, they're going to let you guys or let people like buy Bitcoin and Ethereum. I 100% believe that. And they incorporate Bitcoin and, I don't know, mining or some kind of way to get the banks to have passive income or yield. So maybe the whole banking like institutions like change completely. We don't know what's going to be the future. So, but with pTGC, it's just like it's gonna be, I believe, in my personal opinion, one that's going to go into the record books, and people will know about it years down the line. So,
yeah, and who's to say FTX won't repeat itself? You know, who's to say that another exchange won't pop up where they act like they're selling you Bitcoin, but they're really not? And then you find out about they ripped off 15 billion off everybody, and because of the country they did it from, there's nothing we can do. And you know, who's to say that? You know, what's preventing that from happening? You know, FTX did it. He was a United States citizen. He's stupid. But the crypto's global. It's a global currency. So you really got to kind of be careful. I mean, like things will even mask themselves and pretend to be from a reputable country.
Yeah, that's a great point. But I believe with how the dollar, whether it's in the United States or even other currencies around the world, a lot of them are pretty garbage. So I believe they're going to be forced to transition into crypto whether they like it or not. And you know what better than the greatest currency of all time? Maybe in the future, maybe even banks get into pTGC, and they have reserves.
Oh,
and I'm not saying like they lend it out to us, but I'm just saying they hedge against inflation with pTGC.
Wouldn't that be the greatest compliment? Be like, wow, you literally changed markets. That would be wild. Yeah, and but I think it has the mechanics to do it. I really do, especially once you get to those numbers. The mechanics on it, you know, there's going to be so many people trying to get in on arbitrage that it's just the machine's going to speed up, you know. And yeah, the whole thing's going to speed up. And really, if you're right, man, if you're right, even banks get in and correct, you know, the dollar based on pTGC, that'd be wild. Because they're doing it with Bitcoin, they're doing it with Ethereum, right? So,
yeah, I believe they would buy it just to cover themselves, just to try and like, because the other currencies are so garbage, they need something. And what better than the greatest currency of all time?
That's wild.
I like
and by then so many tokens will have been burned that you know, for every token you get, it'll be real numbers, right? So they'll really see it.
I like what Duffy Slation said. He says, I don't even think the Greys themselves understand what has been created here. I really do believe that this will go down as one of the greatest ecosystems ever. Every moving part is bullish.
Super cool.
Guys, I'm kind of running to my last 2 minutes. So if anyone has any last questions or comments to put in maybe 5 minutes or so, feel free to put them out. thing I wanted to bring up is the thing. I think that's very, very out there. But the cool thing about this system is we don't need banks, right?
Yes.
The system is going to thrive and do its thing with what mechanically is there in front of us right now. Big players buying it, ultimately to store value, right? People need to find places to store value, and that's pretty much one of the biggest asset classes out there, the financial asset class, and then store of value with finance is obviously large, indexes within store of value is very large. We're covering all these areas. So obviously we've tried to create very, very race to big investors, large liquidity pools, etc. Index, built-in diversification, built-in AY, hyper-deflation, all the things they're actually looking for. The cool thing is
you're rugging a little bit, Greg. If you can get to a better spot,
even if it's a currency just for the people to win, that's almost even stronger.
Yep. No insiders. No mint function. Yeah, you're making some great points. Yeah, and so that's kind of like the whole purpose of store of value, right? Is that your bank is only FDIC insured to 200,000. So to store $1 million is kind of a pain in the ass. So where you can store it somewhere where it's stored and it's there, like a Bitcoin, you know, or a pTGC, and you know it's going to be there. It's a way to store that $1 million and store it safely, and you know, be able to have access to it, like real access to it, because you can go to your bank and say, hey, I want my $1 million, and they're like, hey, we don't have it. We're 98% liquid. Like, yeah. So that's how, what was it, Silverleaf or whatever it was that fell in Silicon Valley because everybody rushed the bank. And they were like, they literally didn't have the money. I think the biggest loser lost like $12 billion. That was their number one customer, lost $12 billion, something like that. And yeah, it's like people lost real money on that.
That's crazy. Let them all do that to pTGC, and we'll just eventually skyrocket from how much had been burnt through that.
Yeah. Yeah, just on the store of value alone, right? Yeah. And a burn function. That's it.
Hey, Zen, Polygon says when we 100X, he's going to send you a Starlink with the highest bandwidth option.
I know. It's the funniest thing ever, freaking Zen, right? Like, Starlink doesn't, he's so far out that Starlink still doesn't even reach his ass, dude. Oh, shit.
That's because he's the gray. He's out there.
Yeah. It's hilarious. Bad signal translation. He's really speaking to you, an alien, through a translator. You think he's a human.
Mm-hmm.
He's AI.
Zen's the gray guy. He's been gray the whole time.
Yeah. No, he's doing a great job. He's definitely doing a great job. And
his real name's T-Rod, right?
Yeah. Yeah, everybody's doing a great job. Everybody plays their own role, you know, their own specialty. Everybody's got something to bring to the table, right? You just got to find what you excel at. Find somebody who needs that skill. In our case, we found people who need a safe store of value that is deflationary and not inflationary, because at the end of the day, Bitcoin is still inflationary.
All right, guys. It has been a great chat. We haven't got any further questions. So I'm suggesting that we shut it down. Zen?
Yeah, I'm ready to shut it down.
All right.
Thank you guys for coming in. Ty, thanks for coming in. Coach, Adrian, thanks for adding to the conversation. Mando, thanks for coming up as always. Coondog, Stylist, thanks for coming in and chatting at the beginning. I appreciate it. It definitely was nice to have a good chunk of people coming up on a Monday. Usually our Mondays are a little bit more quiet. Might be a good sign that the markets are coming up and people are ready to start coming into these spaces. I wouldn't be surprised if 2 months from now, 3 months from now, we have a line of speakers waiting to come up and, multiple hundreds of people listening.
Yeah, it was a good conversation tonight. I really appreciated. I enjoyed listening to you guys talk. It was fun.
Cool. All right. See you guys. Bye, everybody.
See you, Zen. That was good spaces, guys. All right, K-Flow, I'm going to answer your question. But let's go. Let's finish these comments. 500. I think 500 million pTGC is a big deal. That's a shark plus, and I think it's becoming a bigger deal as we go. Yes, it's unthinkable where it could go at a 10x, or a 50x, but just start getting your mind ready for that. I mean, I think we got to start thinking in the multiple millions of dollars, maybe even hundreds of millions of dollars. So, what are you gonna do with it? You don't have to do anything. That might be the safest thing to do with some of our plays, with some of our assets. So that takes care of my name is. I don't care what my name is. Cool. Is that a cool name? It's an interesting name. My name is interesting too. Duffy, if you've been around to witness the ongoings of the last few cycles, then you know without a doubt that pTGC is the answer. It literally checks all the boxes. Don't play yourself. You're welcome, Polygon. You will learn where the name Prairie Banana comes from. K-Flow. Yeah, okay, so K-Flow, I'm going to humble myself and tell you what I do. I have a small business. I'm the guy that takes the trash out at night from places, right? And I've got one customer right now. Years ago, when I started with this customer, there's a learning curve, and I let a dispenser get empty. And this dude puts a yellow sticky on there. He says, "Would you please not let the dispensers go empty?" And he signed it the Prairie Banana. And I just about died with laughter, man. It was so funny. It was years ago, and I never forgot it. And I was looking for a handle. I'm like, I need something maybe funny. It don't have crypto in it. I want to be able to use it for anything. I was like, okay, I'm going to be the Prairie Banana. Interesting. There is a Prairie Banana. It's called the Prairie Banana, a Prairie Banana, whatever. Back east, I think it's not a very common plant. It's a plant. And this is funny too. Google, if you guys want to laugh, Google the Prairie Banana. You're not going to believe what pops up, man. You're welcome, Mike. You're the man, PB. If not for you, I wouldn't be here. Really? Did I bring you in, man? You are correct. My name is I don't care. Dude, your handle throws me off because I got to read that every time. Do you have more pTGC or UFO guys? I'm about an even split. I didn't go heavier. Okay, Polygon has more UFO. Whether you hold 5 million or 5 billion pTGC, can you take it? Yeah, it could take you to the promised land. I'm trying to onboard people, and I'm thinking if we could just get a few $100s worth, like just a million tokens, make that your goal. Get a million, that could be worth a lot of money. I mean, people are talking. We were talking penny pTGC. We skipped right on past 10 cents. Now we're talking dollars. I mean, $1. We've gone to $1. Best story, dude. You like that? My story, I guess. I need a whale position on UFO. Oh, that would be wonderful. I did. Well, that makes me happy, dude. I got to tell you, I love your profile picture. The shoe, the classy looking shoe. If that's not a shoe, just let me know. Also managed to snipe surf for 1%. You got a 1% surf position. I don't know what surf is, but that's a whale position. That's pretty sweet. Guys, I'm going to jump. It's always fun. This was an extra special space. I think Saturdays was really good. And then this one was fun. Just people just coming up and talking, It wasn't just Mando and Hayden, Zen. And I'm not much of a talker. So it was cool to have, community people coming up and talking. So, guys, have a great night. Go get some rest. Let's crush it tomorrow. All right. Great Banana over and out.